Do you actually love me? But I think that it would have been a much easier and better experience growing up, having both parents present and actively care. Like even if you understand it, not all kids do, that your parents still love you and care for you regardless.
You're good.
Regardless of how they act. But you don't know that growing up. You know, like just like you, your mom probably loved you very much, but she wasn't present. So for you, it's like, do you actually love me?
Yeah, she loved me, I guess, in her own way. That's
Exactly.
that I could say.
But
I don't know what that is, but it's her way.
100%. And that's hard to swallow when you're young. It's hard to like really understand all of that. And then now you're having to deal with all of that when you should be focusing on growing up and learning and exploring and building your emotional intelligence.
So tell me a little bit about how you grew up, because I really think that the subject you want to get into is, really about parenting and how differently it can happen. And I think you have some pretty good sharing to do about that. And it relates around how it could be different and maybe why it's different for you. So can you tell me how your parenting experience was as a kid?
As a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So growing up, it was just me and my mom till I was around 3.5. She started dating my father, now my stepfather, around 3.5, 4 years old. They had my sister.
So your parents split originally when you were young?
My parents got married, and then literally before I was a year old, they were already divorced. So she started dating just me and her in an apartment. And when she started dating Joey, I could definitely tell that it was very different. She was with him all the time. He came over. He would stay over. So I knew that there was something more, even at that age.
Even at that age, you were like, oh, this is different. Oh, wow.
At first, I wasn't like a huge fan because they didn't he was never introduced. I just saw him. And I didn't I put two and two together, but I didn't know. And then, excuse me. And then around 6, they had my sister, and they got married when I was 7. So he's been in my life since I was 4 years old. And we didn't have a good relationship while I was growing up. I challenged him a lot. He challenged me a lot.
Where do you think that stemmed from? If you were to think about it, what, obviously you're thinking about it looking back. What is it that the challenge was for you?
I think I felt like I was the only one that challenged him. Everyone around him was yes, yes, yes. And I don't know. I just never was like a yes kid. I did whatever I thought was right.
Right.
So
where did that come from though? Because you have to look at it and think, it's strange that this new person came into my life, but here's this energy that I have towards them already.
Probably because I didn't have a relationship with my father, and now this man was
trying to step into that
role, 100%. So I think that was a very difficult thing for me to swallow, not obviously having a relationship with my father at all. He was non-existent. He wasn't even trying to be in my life, and they made that very known. So that's part of what I try to do today is not, and we can get into that in a second, but he would talk about my father very negatively, and that impacted me. And so did my mom, but not to the same degree.
Your stepfather. Got it.
Yeah.
So then,
if I did something bad, it's because your father X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So it was always, you're this way because your father was a drug addict, or you're
and
this
how
way
old are
because
you
your
at this
father's
time?
absent.
That these kind of things are happening?
It kind of started around 6, 7 years old, all the way through till I left, high school.
So you continued with that energy. What do you think you held on to? I mean, if you had somebody step in as a present father, and you had a completely devoid father. What caused that? It's like you were on team dad. Do you think you just wanted a dad?
It's not even that I necessarily wanted a dad. I just wanted someone that I could like look up to, respect, and not have like that energy towards. He would do things that just didn't make sense to me, and I would look to my mom for help in that area, and just I never got it. So it was difficult, but at the same time, with my mom and my dad, like if they would fight about it too. So when I became 12, 13 years old, I had asked my mom, I was like, I'd like to reach out to my father and just have a conversation. Like this is around the time where I was like, I'd like to have some kind of relationship, whatever that is, or at least know for myself, because everything that I've heard from all of you is that he's this, he's that, he does this, he does that. That's the reason why you're this way, you're that way. And I'd like to know who that person is. You know, he came in and out every once in a while.
Also, you did see him.
If you were to look at the 18 years that I was in their house, I saw him in totality maybe a year. In totality, sprinkled in throughout
the 18, yeah.
It was very well known throughout the house. He didn't pay child support. He didn't care. He didn't care about my mom. He didn't care about me. Like that was thrown in my face, like it was my fault. And I don't think that any child should have to go through that. I think that that's unproductive.
Do you think that you maybe held on to a more romantic version of your father?
No, because I knew that he was all those things, but I wanted to have a different type of relationship with him. I just wanted to get to know him as a person.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have to be a father figure. I wanted to know why he was the way he was, because he probably had so many struggles. I mean, he passed away from cancer and a bunch of other things, but he struggled with addiction. He struggled with mental health. He struggled with so much. And he had a lot of really close friends who held him very dear, who reached out to me afterwards to tell me stories and all of these things. And I wanted to know that man. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was looking for him to take me out to lunch and buy me things and
right.
Give me fatherly advice. It had nothing to do with that. Even back then, I truly just wanted to get to know him as a human, because everything that was told to me was everything that, yeah, I get that. That's great. But why can't I still have a relationship with that person?
So do you think that you maybe took some of the stuff that you heard in the house and took it as like them trying to prevent you from having a relationship?
For sure that
or was it more direct?
I think it was a mix. I think that they for sure did not necessarily want me to, because that just complicated things. I don't think my mom really cared. I think she knew I knew better, but she also was like, I mean, if you really want to, sure, but wasn't not necessarily not encouraging it, but not what's the word, nurturing that emotion.
The only reason I say this is because I resonate with this a little bit with like from a mom perspective.
Yeah,
my mom was really not in my life, and if I remember correctly, you know, as you said, for the 18 years, I think my mom was in my life
like sprinkled in
6 months, 7 months. I don't know. It just seemed like a little. We would see her very little. When we did see her, it was maybe like a week or two, and then it would just be years from there.
Where you just never even heard.
Yeah. So in my mind, for a while, I held out to this, you know, things would be better if because, you know, if I had my mom. And my dad was, you know, he was remarried 5 times. So I'll just leave it to that. So that was that, you know, and I had this like circus of women coming in my life. So I think it affected me when I couldn't bond with any female figure. Yeah. Because I still held out to this idea of my mom. And in other podcasts I shared where ultimately the you know, I saw behind the curtain, I kind of felt like, you know, the Wizard of Oz wasn't as mystical and magical as I wanted. And I think there was something there for me that the last hope, or the last bastion of hope that I was holding on to was now gone, and now there was all just reality of the situation. Yeah. So that's how I resonate with what you just said. How do you relate that to? Because it's not. Where did the I want to champion him come from? Because I'm not understanding.
It wasn't even championing. It's truly just like, I'd like to just, now that I'm older and I can understand a little bit more, you know, I'm not this young kid where he's buying me 4 rabbits and bringing them to my house. And my mom's like, well, now what am I going to do with these things? 4 rabbits? Yeah. Like, what are we talking about right now? That's just a very vivid memory. My mom just cussing him out in the house, and I've got these 4 rabbits. Like, he would do random things like that. to like, okay, now I understand. I just would like to just have a conversation. I just want to get to know him regardless. Like, I just kind of see.
Did you get the opportunity to ask that directly?
To him?
Yeah.
Yes, a couple times.
What was his response?
Excuses. Just like any addict or someone who's he's a huge narcissist. So it was, oh, it was your mom. Oh, it was this. Oh, I didn't have a job. Oh, she kept you from me, whatever it was.
Yeah. But never ownership. Never like, hey, look, I messed up.
But even at that age, I knew. So
yeah.
I'm like, that is for him. You know what I mean? And this is for me. And I just left it at that. But I still wanted, him to have access and me to have access to him because I thought that was important for me.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with him or my parents. It was for me. So when I was told around 17, 18, I was told he passed. So I mourned him at 17, 18 years old. I get to college, and about 6 months into my freshman year, my dorm room phone rings. And it was his roommate, Terry. And he's like, hi, do you have a moment? Is this Melody? I said, yes. He's like, I'm with your father. Would you like to speak with him? He would like to speak with you.
Wait, what?
At that point, I hadn't talked to him since I was like 15 or 16 years old. It's like 5 or 6 years later. And
but wait,
like,
you were told at 17 that he passed?
That he had passed.
Yeah.
So I had mourned him in my own way. No one could tell me how or what. They were just like, we got news that your father passed. Okay. And I was just
processing that,
and then moved on. So to hear that and then hear him on the phone and then him saying like, now that you're not in your home with your mom and your stepfather, I'd like to try to build a relationship with you. And I'm like, hi. You're going to have to give me
Jesus, I need a minute.
I'm now going through this new, process in my life. And, going to college and experience all these new things. And now I'm like having to deal with that. So that was a fun, interesting experience.
Did you ever find out why you were told he died?
So I immediately obviously called my mother, and she's like, I need to process this because she was told. So she like from my godfather who lives in Italy that he had passed. So there was like a whole chain of reactions. So they did. I have no idea. I don't know who or how.
You never did find out.
We never found out. She couldn't even find out. She was actually very curious too because she was upset. She's like, I would never want that for you because now you're going to have to go through it again and mourn him again.
Wow.
If you have this relationship with him. So he had tried for a little while. Again, up and down, same thing. I wasn't expecting anything. That was just a really interesting experience. So he had come and gone, kept in contact here and there. And then he got really sick. So once he got really sick, we talked even less at that point because he was in and out of the hospital. He let me know that I was the one that would be signing off if he is a DNR and all of that stuff. So he's like, I have nothing to leave you. I just, again,
and you were his, sorry, I never asked. You were his only daughter? Okay.
Well, that he knows of or I know of.
Oh, yeah. Fair.
So he's, once I had kids, he wanted to meet he met Brayden, my eldest, when he was a year old. We went and visited him in California before he got too sick to be able to do anything. And we just ran around his house and we chatted and he got to meet his grandson and he was very grateful and apologized 1,000 times for everything. And you could tell that he was processing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was for him. Like, it wasn't for me. It was for my baby. He got to meet his, one of his grandfathers. But that wasn't for me. That was for him,
Yeah.
So, and I accepted that.
So can we go back to why you still had the energy with your stepfather? I'm so curious. Specifically,
so
if you had personal awareness of your own father, I'm assuming that then everything else must have been just with your stepfather himself and how he was a parent.
Yes.
Great. We could skip that then. Yeah. No worries.
We can touch on that another day.
No, and that's fine. It was more, was it still?
Had nothing to do with.
That's what I'm getting at. I don't think it had anything to do with your dad. Okay, got it.
No. Like, he would bring up things and they would have random fights, but it was so minimal in comparison that it didn't.
Got it.
Effect,
okay.
No.
So at least that's not intertwined with this. So you have this experience with your dad. You have this experience with your mom. I'm assuming that from your dad's side, there was never like this woman that came in with him that you had. So you basically had a stepdad, mom, and a father that was distant. Okay.
So no co-parenting, essentially.
Right.
Experience.
And that's really where your passion is about this idea of how to best co-parent, at least your experience of it.
Yeah, because I would have loved to have two present parents. I would have loved that. And how would that work and be healthy?
Why do you think that is such a topic that you have a passion for?
Because I think that not that it would have affected me as a child and now an adult, but I think that it would have been a much easier and better experience growing up, having both parents present and actively care. Like even if you understand it, not all kids do, that your parents still love you and care for you regardless.
You're good.
Regardless of how they act. But you don't know that growing up. You know, like just like you, your mom probably loved you very much, but she wasn't present. So for you, it's like, do you actually love me?
Yeah, she loved me, I guess, in her own way. That's
Exactly.
that I could say.
But
I don't know what that is, but it's her way.
100%. And that's hard to swallow when you're young. It's hard to like really understand all of that. And then now you're having to deal with all of that when you should be focusing on growing up and learning and exploring and building your emotional intelligence and figuring out what you want to do with life. And now you have to worry about your parents and if they love you and all of that. Like, I don't want that to be a question.
Yeah.
And I would love to, and what we do now, which I think we do very well, is create that environment for them to be kids, to really just enjoy themselves and learn for themselves and, you know, have good role models. So
how did your co-parenting story start? So in order for you to co-parent, you would need to have one relationship not to work out.
Yeah. So my ex-husband and I, we were like two ships in the night. So this kind of folds into the co-parenting, but our schedules were chaotic. He worked overnights. I worked days. I did everything for the kids. I felt like I was a single mom and I didn't get the support. We were really bad at communicating at the time. We were young. We got into this and didn't know what we were doing, and it was clear. So we obviously did not work out, and we were married 7 years. And then when that ended, my children were 3 and 5.
So young.
Yeah, just turned 3 and 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really, really hard for him. Even though we had gone to therapy and we had tried and we were trying to figure it all out, it's still the communication and the scheduling and everything it wasn't aligned. It all worked out for the better, but we tried our best and it wasn't going to work. And I didn't want my kids to grow up in a toxic environment. I didn't. So I was the one who left, and just thought that it would be better for everyone. And it was hard for the kids. Immediately in my mind, I felt very guilty. I was like, maybe I did the wrong thing. Maybe I should have just stuck it out. I had so many emotions towards it because I didn't want them to have to go through what I went through and trying to figure out and, was it my fault? Was it, what happened? Like, what could I have done better as kids? I didn't want that. I just wanted to avoid that. But I didn't think that that was the right thing to do. I think showing them that you have to do what's right for you and take care of yourself first so that you can take care of others. If I wasn't going to take care of myself and be happy in who I was with and how I was operating
living
as a
life.
person, how could I have taken care of my kids to the best of their ability or my ability? So leaving him, that struggle, he couldn't accept it for a little while. It was very hard. And then with my current husband and partner, they did not mesh well. So for the first year, it was very difficult for me because I had to manage everyone.
Oh, so you went from one relationship to the next? Wow, that's quick.
There was a gap because me and Sang were separated. We weren't living necessarily together.
Got it. Okay.
But going from one to the next, yes. And it's really hard for Sang. He didn't want someone else raising his kids. He made that very clear. I don't want you to have another baby. He had stipulations. I'm like, it's not for you.
Yeah, I don't know if he could put that on.
Yeah, it's like, you can't have any more kids. You can't get married. Yeah. I don't want anyone else raising my kids. I don't want anyone, he had all these rules. I said, hi, let's talk about this when you're,
Calmer.
Yes. And let's have a realistic conversation. And we had to do that a lot. We had to have a lot of conversations. He got very dramatic and took himself to the hospital and said that he was going to kill himself and a bunch of other things. So managing him during that time, managing my new partner and his energy towards that, and then managing my kids and making sure that they didn't see any of it. Like, they don't need to deal with that.
Yeah.
Like, that's not their problem.
I'm curious to understand how you define toxic, because you said you left the relationship as toxic. And I think that that's very big of you. Before I go there, for you, when you think of toxic, how would you define that for somebody that maybe doesn't understand that? Because we can use that word toxic for everything. How did you define that?
In that in particular case with the relationship, he had been seeing other women and not being truthful, turning off my credit cards and not letting me have access to money. So I'd go get groceries and I'd have no money in my account. He would say really hurtful things. He turned off my gym membership so that I couldn't go because he thought I was off doing things when I wasn't. I was just truly trying to do something for myself to keep myself sane. Mm-hmm. He would oversleep and not help me with the kids in the morning, knowing that I needed the help because I also had to go to work. Those are just toxic actions and things specifically that happened. But I also communicated to him, I need the help. Why did you do this? What was the reason behind it? I never lashed out irrationally. Even when I found out about the women, I confronted him. I said, hi, can we have a conversation? Like, are you okay? Are you unhappy? Is there something that we can do better so that you don't feel like you have to do that? And he's the one who freaked out and got super defensive. And that to me is just, that's toxic. Like, yeah. I think that living in an environment where you have to walk on eggshells, where you feel like when you do communicate, you're getting no reciprocation, when you can't have any time to yourself to be able to like do anything, to be better, it's toxic.
So what I hear is you define toxic basically stating when it's a toxic environment, when there's no cohesion between partners.
No communication.
Yeah.
No cohesion. No, there's no partnership.
Right.
That's not a partnership.
Yeah. It's a good way to put it.
And it could look in multiple ways. Like, you could just you feel like roommates. Like, that can be toxic, because where's the intimacy in that? The intimacy doesn't have to be sexual, just right. Any type of intimacy. If you don't have that, that could feel very toxic and lonely. Like, and no one wants to live like that. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be
right.
Those moments. You're going to have those ups and downs, but that's what's going to make you stronger in the end. And it didn't make us stronger. So
your trend line wasn't going up, basically. Got it. Okay. So then that's how, I'm assuming that's the step you took back. You started looking and say, hey, these just don't add up to pointing in the right direction.
Yeah. It also, just to it didn't help. Our oldest son is autistic. My ex did not truly accept that till he was 5 or 6 years old, past the time of me leaving, because he's like, I don't want my mom to know. I don't want people to know. We just like, you can do whatever you want, because I was doing all the therapies, but I want nothing to do with it. He would not accept it. So that was also very hard for me, because I did a lot of work to make sure that kid had everything he needed and the support, and I wasn't being supported for our son. So like, that was really hard.
So how have you been able to how has the co-parenting shifted? Where did your priorities go, and how have you seen these other two men involved in their life be part of that, or that, what changed to allow
the trajectory?
Yeah.
I will start this with, not only has my ex done a 180, and I'm so proud of him.
It's okay.
Excuse me. Because that's all I wanted for him and for our kids. So it's beautiful to see. So I knew that this was the right thing, because obviously whatever we were going through you know, it held him back too.
Yeah.
Like his potential and everything that he's doing now. He's has a job he wants. He has a beautiful family. He has a new baby girl who like, oh, so cute. And he's like the best dad to his kids. And it's just, again, so beautiful to see. It makes me so happy. And same with my current partner, like he's evolved so much too, because before he's like, I don't want anything to do with it. You know, he needs to this, that, and the other, and he had so much energy. And now they have a relationship and they talk. And it's just, again, after that first year, I just made sure that I over communicated to both of them and let them know. And so kind of how the roadmap went for the co-parenting and how we got to where we are today was we decided right off the bat, we don't follow each other on any socials. Sorry.
No, you're good.
We don't follow each other on any socials because our personal life has nothing to do with us parenting. We blocked each other on both. We made it a deal. We also said we will not talk about each other to the kids. Absolutely not. I do not talk to the kids about their father. I don't ask questions. I don't care what they did because whatever they did is for them. Because it's not a tit for tat. It's not, okay, well, he bought you this, so now I have to buy you this. Like, we wanted to make sure that whatever they're doing, I have to support and know that they're safe, that they're being taken care of, that their father loves them, and then that's it. Like, when they're with me, they're with me. When they're with him, they're with him. And that.
What do you think allowed you to do that? Because that's a big deal.
It's huge. I think that we decided to do that right off the bat, and that first year was really rough in trying to like manage that. But once we both understood that was like the best way to do it, it just became so easy. Like I suggest it for anyone that's going through this. It's not about me and him. Like, it has nothing to do with us. We decided to have these beautiful kids. We were in a great place at one point. We decided to have children, and that is what the focus is like these kids. That's all that matters. We don't matter. Like, our emotions, our like past relationship, none of that matters because that is not important anymore. It has nothing to do with anything that has to do with raising these kids. So anything that we talk about, anything that we do is about the kids. We talk almost every day.
Where did you learn that from?
The communication piece?
No, the putting the kids first. Like, where did that come from? Because that I don't see that.
That is...
And sorry, let me clarify. It's not that I don't see it with you.
No, I understand.
I don't see it with most parents putting the kids. I usually have experience of a lot of parents where they're ultimately, you know, the kids were in the debt column and they're just like, these goddamn rug munchers.
So,
like, I have them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what allowed you to basically think that way?
I think it's coupled with how I grew up. Like, I wish I had that. I wish that people put me first. I hate to say it like that. It's very selfish, but I wish that they had taken the emotion out of their relationship because I saw it. I still saw it, even though it was minimal. I wish that they had taken that emotion out of it. What happened? I didn't need to hear the stories. I didn't need to hear what happened or how they broke up or what they're doing now. That doesn't matter. What matters is like, hi, do you want to be in my life? If you do, like, let's make that happen. So,
do you think if you didn't have that experience as a kid that you'd be the same opinion? I think it would be
harder, for sure. I think it would definitely be harder, but at the same time, different life experiences that have happened, I think that I would have gotten to this point, just not as fast.
Got it. So for anybody listening, it's something maybe to look at. It's like, where's
100%.
Yeah.
Immediate. It needs to be the second that you separated. It needs you cannot know about what's going on in that other person's life because now you're going to fixate on it, and it's not productive. So especially with him specifically in the beginning when, you know, I was with my current partner and husband, he was like, you know, wanting to know everything. I said, it's not important. It's not important. What's important is, hey, guess what Braden did today? And I would always just flip it. And then it got to the point where now he does that. And now it's a learned behavior.
Yeah.
And it's really, really good. So the communication's been amazing. I think the next big thing that I would want anyone to do is the schedule. Getting on the same page with the schedule. And I think I wish we had done that.
And what does that mean?
So we are week on, week off.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't always week on, week off.
So you're talking about the co-parenting schedule. Got it.
I think it's super important to be aligned in that, because a lot of people struggle with that. When do I get to have my kids? Like, I know tons of friends where the one side of the parents like are just waiting for the other to say, okay, you can have them for the weekend. That's no way to live. That's no way for the kids. And then you see the fighting back and forth. They have no idea when they're going to see their father or their mother, or, you know, they're flip-flopping, or I can't pick my kid up. Like,
So
if
by
it's your
schedule,
week, you figure it out.
yeah. So by schedule, I mean like having clear communication with your partner of like, what does the timing look like? Because it's not just about you and for you to schedule, you know, your adult life around it. It's about having stability for the kids.
Yeah.
They can look forward to, hey, you see dad next week. You're really excited. Okay.
Yep. But that also, you never want the kids to feel like they have a decision to make. Hey, who do you want to see today? You want to see mom or dad? Now you're giving them, and now they're going to feel bad for saying mom. How's dad going to feel? It should never, ever, 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 ever give kids decisions in that way. Other life decisions, yes, they need to learn independence. They need to learn all of that. But when it comes to mom and dad and co-parenting, if I'm like, who would you rather be with, me or dad for Christmas? Like, we actually had that this past Christmas. My ex hasn't had the kids over Christmas, how the weeks have fallen the last 3 years. And he got them this year. And my family was coming out and we were going to Utah. And the kids were like, we really want to go. We really want to go. That's great. It's your dad's week. And I didn't say, oh, you should ask your dad or this. Nope, absolutely not. Because now we're giving them the power, but also internally, like, oh, I didn't get that year with dad. You know what I mean? Like, it's a two-way street. It's like an immediate, like, great. And then afterwards, like, shit, I didn't get to spend time with my dad.
Did you explain that to your kids as far as like the value of why they should go?
Yes, we both have. And we both have sat down with them together. So this is something that has also evolved, because the communication has only gotten stronger and better throughout the years. Because me and saying we celebrate the wins, and like if I'm doing something with the kids and say Braden gets punished because he took the Nintendo into his bedroom and he didn't go to bed until 3:00 in the morning. We're just going to use that as an example. I'll let my ex know, hey, just so you know, this happened. He's grounded for 3 days. It doesn't go into your week. I'm just letting you know. And then you can handle that how you would like at your house. And he's like, thank you so much for the information. And then we celebrate the wins. Like, hey, guess what? Declan got an A on his, math. Maybe you send him a message, and we do this. We celebrate. But anything big, we actually meet somewhere, or I've gone to his house, and we discipline together, or we do the wins together, because we want them to see that we support each other and that we talk, so they can't.
How do you handle the dynamic that would be created when your current partner maybe doesn't understand that co-parenting portion of it, whether that be big or small? Because I'm trying to put myself in and be like a devil's advocate. How is it that you're going somewhere else when, like, what about me? I'm trying to play dad too.
Yeah. I've gotten lucky that my current partner, he wants to be involved and doesn't at the same time. So he's invited to everything. And so is my ex's partner or wife. We want to vacation together. We were like, hey, let's do a trip to Disneyland. Like, he's invited to all the games. He's invited to all the wins. I've always asked, would you like to come? And not once would my ex be like, he can't. Because he's actually like, oh, where's Matt? Like, is he coming to the game? Like, we've gotten to the point where now we have 2 solid households and 4 parents that these kids have love from. And so I've been lucky in the fact that I haven't had to deal with that, except for that first year where they were not on the same page and they would. So how did you deal
with that? I guess that's where I see the value of understanding how to do that. Because what if I'm in that situation now, and maybe it's too, air quotes, toxic. I have this ex that's hard and difficult to deal with, and I'm doing my best to manage that. I have this new partner that's trying, and now how could I take your advice when I have to focus on my new partner because he's or she is in my life, and they're trying to step up into that, possibly how they would feel about the void. And how do I make sense of who gets to play that role and how it's played?
It's a hard way or a hard question, because I feel like it just depends on the people. How I dealt with it is I over communicated to both parties without involving them to each other. Does that make sense? Like,
No. Give me an example.
That's what I'm trying to think of
Oh.
as like a direct example. We might have to pivot and then come back to it, because I want to think of a good one for you so that this way it makes sense. Because
What did you mean by the over communication?
So if in the beginning saying would, let's say, sign up one of our youngest of the two for sports sometimes and not tell me right away. Like now he tells me well in advance, like, hey, are you good with this? Because we've gone through a couple bumps.
So it's the decision making.
It's the decision making.
Got
so my current partner doesn't want anything to do with that part of it. He's like, if you want my advice, I'm there for you 100%. But I'm not here to like make those decisions for you guys. I'm here to support the decision. And he wasn't like that in the very beginning. He was more so very hands off. Like, I don't want to be a part of the decision. I don't want to be part of any of it. And then once, we got down the road and the communication got a little bit better, and he saw that me and my ex were on a better page, a better path, a better communication, he then stepped in that way. And then he made contact with him and it's like, hi, this was like right after or during COVID. We may have to move because of X, because of COVID. How are we going to handle that as co-parents? As a unit. And he took that step, which was beautiful. I'm going to cry again. Beautiful for me, because I knew that was the turning point. I was like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Because now everyone's communicating and they have great chats and we laugh and like, it's like we're all best friends. Do you know what I mean? And like, that's like the best scenario that you could be in.
How did you manage as a mom, as a arbiter, as a partner for that time to not
lose my shit?
Yeah, just to lose that light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's really important to understand. Like, what did you do or how did you do it?
I don't know how I did it, honestly. It's like, it takes a village, everyone says, but when you're trying to work and be an entrepreneur or trying to manage 4 kids now at the same time and dealing with all the emotions and all the people, you tend to just you have to find time for yourself. I found time for myself. I found time for gardening. Like, I really got into gardening and that was my way. And I really got into the gym and that was my way away. And, getting my head stuck in a book or getting, finding friends and going and having coffee and not talking about any of it. I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk about this, and just focusing on me and having that time was very important.
So it's those items allowed you to have me time that was focused on you as an individual and not you as any of those roles that I just talked about.
Yeah. So that I could have a break from it, so that I'd be restored enough to be able to manage it on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
How did you allow yourself to have that time? Because it's difficult, right? You're a mom, you're an arbiter, you're a partner. Yeah. So how did you figure out how to be okay with that time?
I've never not been okay with that time, and I don't know how to explain that.
So you've always been good with like, I need me time.
Mm-hmm. Just to shut it off.
That's perfect.
Just to shut it off. I do it with work. If I need it, I create that space and I create that for me. That's for me. So
can you tell me what that does for you? Because there might be somebody that's listening to this that just doesn't understand. It's like, my time has to be with my children. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I feel like I'm taking time from them. Mm-hmm. What would you say to that person of why your time is so valuable to you and how that is a benefit to everybody else?
I have them evaluate just one day that they're like, say a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. Because even everyone's like, oh, stay-at-home moms, you have all this time. You don't. You're doing a bunch of stuff and you're doing more for the kids because you have the time. What are you doing in that day? Just walk me through your day. They get up, they go on their phone. They're not present. They turn on the TV for their kids. They may be a little depressed, whatever it is. They're not finding activities fun anymore. Whatever that is during the day, they're walking me through their day. I said, if you actually found time for yourself, you'd be more present for your kid in the morning. You'd be more present in the afternoon. You'd find joy in the things that you're doing, because now it's not about everybody else. It's not about the house. It's not about the kids. It's not about your partner. It has nothing to do with that. If you don't find time for yourself, none of that is going to be enjoyable. So I want to enjoy life. I want to enjoy everything that I do. And the only way to do that is to find time for myself. And thank God I have a partner that is also like that and allows that and supports it. So again, I've gotten very lucky in that category, because not everybody does. So.
Right. I think that you're being too kind. I think that luck is not something that was bestowed upon you. I think it's been a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
So the luck is that you have people in your life that are willing to do the work with you.
Yeah.
I think that's
fair.
I think that's a little bit more specific.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want anybody sitting back and be like, that's why I can't do what she does, because I don't have luck in my life. It's like, well, let's just be clear. The luck is, it's perceived as luck.
It is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a lot of work.
So there's a lot of work that you do and a lot of work that your partner does. And
Mm-hmm.
I think you guys both are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Question for me, though, is as you are explaining all this about being a mom and having your own time, why is it important to have your own time, though? Like, what does that allow you to go do back? So the question was, how is it that if I'm a mom, that's like, if I spend any time not focused on these children, I feel like I'm being a bad mom or dad, right? It'd be for both. What is it that you see you get of how that time you take actually is like a multiplier to give back to all those things?
If I don't spend the time away, I'm a little more irritable. I don't get as excited to go outside. Like, I'm very active with my kids. I play the sports with my kids. I go run outside with my kids. I want to take them to the park all the time. I want to paint with them. I want to do music. I want to dance with them. If I don't have that energy to do it, those things go away. So it is very important for me to fill my cup,
Yeah.
to store that energy. So I will go to the gym every night or in the morning or whenever, so that I can focus on me. So now when I'm at home, I'm present, and now I'm excited to do that project. Whereas if I was at home doing nothing and not doing something for me, now I'm just like, all right, we'll get to it. I notice those patterns. If I don't focus on myself, and I know it sounds so selfish, because, every once in a while I'm like, oh, I feel like we haven't done a lot with the kids this week. And then my partner's like, we did X, Y, and Z, and you've been focusing on yourself, but now next week you're going to be that much stronger. So every once in a while, I need to be reminded that the things that I'm doing are because I needed more of that right now. And that's okay. Because all they remember, truly, like all the things that I can remember are like really the fun stuff. And then like, a couple of the trauma things, but
yeah. No, that's fair. It's difficult to raise children.
Oh, yes. And they're all different.
Yes.
They all require different things.
But how is it that you have managed to raise
For
a
boys?
child with autism as well? Because I think that that's exponentially harder, because we still don't understand autism the way that
the spectrum is just
people
so vast.
deserve.
Excuse me.
Right? You have children that are on the spectrum, and we still don't understand it well enough to be able to cater to wherever they are. So for you, a parent that actually raises an autistic child, what is it that you've found out about yourself through raising one? Like, what is it you think is important for people that are out there that maybe do have an autistic child?
I think the biggest thing to notate is that we're not here to bring them to where we're at. We need to be where they're at.
What does that mean?
So wherever they're learning, their pace, whatever that is, like everyone has these societal goals, like milestones that certain kids need to meet socially, educationally, whatever that is. With autism, from my experience with my son, because everybody's different and there's different forms, he's low on the spectrum. It's really just a social, the social side of it, where he's not He's not great at the social.
Mm-hmm.
He'll start to stem and walk away, and he'd prefer to be alone. He doesn't make eye contact. He doesn't have these types of conversation. It's really difficult for him to communicate to us his needs. But overall, super bright, like motivated in his own way, and just such a loving kid. Like he just loves having that time. Even if he's not a part of something, if he's in the room, he feels like he's a part of it. And I know that, but I have to meet him where he's at. Everyone wants to build these kids up to where they're at. You know, we have friends that have a younger autistic son, and, you know, they're like, we just really want him to talk. We really want him to talk. Enjoy the time where he's not,
Right.
and meet him where he's at, but allow him the space to learn and grow on his own, and don't put that pressure like, oh, he's 6, he needs to be here, or oh, he's 7, he needs to be here. You just have to meet them where they're at, just like you would anybody else, because not everyone's on the same journey.
Do you think that specifically with autism, being that it's so unique in how it presents itself and being unique for the individual and how they express it, I'm hearing basically just, hey, go fall in love with understanding that person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's hard because I don't know how to understand people
Mm-hmm.
when I don't understand myself.
Yeah.
So how do I understand an autistic child if I don't understand autism? I could see how difficult it could be.
Oh, it's hard. It's hard to watch other people interact with him who've never been around it. And you accept it. You're like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't let it bother me. I never have. Because, like, that's my son. I'm super proud of him.
Yeah.
Like, he's overcome a lot, and he's where he's at today. Like, but also something that was really hard for me is not doing things for him. Like,
What do you mean?
The only way for anyone to learn is to try things and fail at them and continue to try until you get it and you understand. I don't do his homework. I don't help him with that. I don't remind him to read his emails. I don't, because one day he's going to be in the workforce. If I'm like sitting there with him, reading his emails, going through, doing his homework for him, how is he going to learn that in the real world? If he fails and he gets a D in the class, hey, bud, how do we fix this? You tell me, give me 3 solutions. Let's walk through this. He has to learn. He has to learn there's consequences. And that's just with any of the kids that we have, you know, all 4 of them. It's really hard to not step in. But I think that the reason why I'm so independent is my parents did nothing for me. They could have. I was working at 14. I, got myself to school. Like, they would go on vacation and I was home by myself for a week and I had to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, you learn. Now he cooks for himself. He does all these things because not that we're not going to do it because we're neglecting like our parenting duties. It's because we want them to learn how to do the laundry, how to do all of these things. You have to do that even more so with autistic children because eventually they're going to have to be on their own. And if you do everything for them, they'll never learn.
Yeah. No, I think that's really great advice, honestly. I mean, for most parents that are listening, you have to raise your children to interact with the real world.
Mm-hmm.
If you create this bubble for them, it's really difficult. I had somebody on the podcast that basically talked about that, where it was they were provided for, and as soon as the real world hit, they lack skills.
It's a reality check
to deal with it.
Yeah, like Declan is in robotics, and he was having issues with his teammates. They were bullying him. Mom, like, he basically wanted me to email the teacher and take care of it. I said, no. Is it hurting your feelings? Is it affecting your work? How are you handling it? You go talk to the teacher. Why don't you talk to them? And I explained to him why. I was like, if you want me to fight your battles, you'll never be able to fight a battle, bud. He's 11. I'm like, so he went and he talked to his one of his teammates who he's close with. They all chatted. He talked to the teacher and he took care of it. And now he's good and he's enjoys it. He's still not 100% with one of the teammates, but I'm like, you're never going to get along with everybody. But if I go in and I'm like, my kid's being bullied, and take care of it and get him onto a new team, because he wanted to be on a new team or he wanted to get out of the class. He's like, I don't want to be in this class anymore. He was that miserable. I said, okay, well, let's figure out what the problem is and let's fix it. Like, if they think you're being lazy, maybe you should look in the mirror, bud. Maybe you're being lazy. Like, let's figure that out. Like, they think you're not doing the job. So what are you not doing that shows them that you're not doing the job? of whatever it is that you do in robotics.
I really hope anybody listening, this is massive advice. Massive advice.
I appreciate that.
You got to raise children to interface with the world that's waiting for them, not
But you have to
coddle
be
them.
open enough for them to talk to you about it.
Yeah, agreed.
So
we chatted about one side of you, and I hope everybody else kind of has a good picture of that. That's not all of you. So how do you then be supermom as you tried to be, managing 2 partners, trying to raise kids, and then you added to that being an entrepreneur and being in business? Like why? First of all, my question is why?
'cause it's
And why do you hate yourself? But I'm more honestly on a serious note, it's how do you find balance?
just that you separate it like I did with the kids and myself. Like you separate yourself when you need it. Like when you're finding yourself at a breaking point that you know when you need to take a break. I think people just don't know when to take a break. Like my body's like, you know what? We're going to turn it off. You're going to be more productive tomorrow. Like it's the only way for me specifically to be able to do that. I love the challenge. I love the
How is it
going
that you
after
can
it.
figure out how to appropriately place that energy that you have, both to make sure that you feel like you show up as a mom and not just as a mom, but like the best version of mom that you can muster, and then in that same tone, turn around and try to be the best at the business that you're in? How do you manage that? Like there's, I'm very curious about this because there has to be women out there that, my own experience with some people, it's unfortunate, it takes 2 to tango, but then somebody leaves the tango and you're like, I guess it's me. So it becomes really difficult for them to shift mindset and say, I could still personally succeed even with this child that I'm going to raise. So what is it that you do to make you think this I can handle, and then this I can constantly invest, and how do I improve both? Because I think some people might just be overwhelmed just thinking about it.
So I'm going to circle this into the business part, the parenting part, and the co-parenting part. So this is kind of like a threefold for you. So let's just say I want to show up for every one of my kids' games. I'm just going to use this as an example. Me and my ex, we do a really good job at communicating with all of that, and he shows up and I show up. But also me knowing that he's there and he's supporting, I know that if I miss one or two because I have to work or do a meeting, I don't feel bad about it because someone's there supporting. Or my current partner will go and support. Like again, it takes a village. It's not just me. I can't take full credit for that. I get to have that time because I have people that support me. I have a village to support me. And I know you say it's not luck because that took work. Like he wouldn't have always shown up. The other one might not have always shown up, might not have had the time. We've made it possible in the current situation, in the current environment. Like my ex came up to me and gave me a big hug 6 months ago. And just to circle back, the last 3 years, everyone on all the sporting teams thought me and him were still together because we sat together, we chatted, we rooted on.
You showed up.
We showed up.
Yeah.
We showed up together. And he gave me a big hug and he's like, thank you. Thank you for everything. Because we could be like them or like them.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's you and that's me. And thank you for doing this with me. But that's how I can also show up in business. Because I'll call him. I'm like, listen, in 2 weeks, I have to be here. Are we able to switch weeks just so that the kids still get the same? Then we give the kids enough time so they know. And he's like, absolutely. He's like, hey, my parents are going to come for a couple weeks. You don't have any business or anything going on at that time. I need to leave or I need to come, and we work that together. So like that's how I can show up for everything is because I have that village. So it kind of all intertwines.
So do you think that really the skill set I hear that somebody that might have that?
Yeah, and it's not every situation. If I was a single mom, I think it would be way more difficult to find time for me. It would be. And I don't know how I would find that village, if it would be friends, if it would be family. It would be very difficult. So this isn't a scenario for everyone. I just highly recommend finding finding your village, whether that's your partner, a good friend,
or maybe a tribe, right?
a tribe, whatever that
a
is.
thing that you put together for the sake of you collectively surrounding yourself with people that are willing to support that.
And that you can support each other. I'm here for you, you're here for me. So that we can all collectively take care of ourselves and support the people we love. So
for somebody that maybe has a child, is single with their child and feels overwhelmed already, what I was hearing earlier is ultimately you just start finding a better way to time manage your time. You have to figure out where the time goes, where it's going, because I'm assuming has to be an hour in there where you're just like staring at the TV, droning on because you think that you're getting me time. And you might just say, hey, maybe maybe that isn't me time. The me time needed to recharge your battery.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I don't see how, especially as important as you made it, if the me time is needed, you need to make sure that time you spend on you is actually recharging you, because you have to get back in.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That was really good. Thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
I think I went through most of the items that you really wanted to chat about. Was there anything else that you kind of wanted to end up with, specifically on the topic of co-parenting?
No, I think starting with a good foundation, whether that be schedules, communication, being on the same page, knowing it's not going to be perfect, knowing that you have to be flexible. But I walked into this, I didn't lose respect for my ex-partner ever. I respect him very much. I respect my current partner for going through all of that with me, supporting me. You just gotta keep moving forward, communicate well, and I think it'll all work out. Ooh.
Perfect.
See what you did to me?
I didn't do this, but thanks for sharing.
So yeah, I don't have much more.
Good.
I think it was good. It's a good talk.
That's it.
Thank you.
See how this goes?
Yeah, right.
All
You
done.
got everyone crying on this show.